listening to the Miracles in Meat podcast. I'm Shane Thibodaux, fourth generation butcher at one of the oldest meat markets in the world. My great-grandfather started this business by slaughtering one cow or pig at a time and selling the cuts door to door on horse and buggy. Today, our products are enjoyed across the globe. I will attempt to give you some insight as to how we got here and explore the challenges we've had along the way. At Bourgeois, our mission is to preserve our heritage generation after generation through legendary Cajun flavors and the development of relationships, not customers. Since 1891, Bourgeois has maintained age-old culinary traditions that fuel the South Louisiana lifestyle. Over the past 133 years, our Cajun products have gained global recognition, and for tens of thousands of folks around the world, the Bourgeois Cajun Lady logo is a symbol of home. Today, the fourth-generation butchers sit at the 9-foot maple block with loyal customers to discuss the adventures, skills, and passions that guide each of their legacies. These conversations will become priceless resources for future generations of any industry. This is our way of maintaining the spirit, purpose, and traditions of our lost arts in a world of change. 133 years, 4 generations. We're just getting started. All right, episode 7 of the Miracles of Meat podcast. Today we have Mr. Francis Hebert. Mr. Francis just turned 96 years old yesterday. I'm holding in my hand a book written by Mr. Francis that was published, I believe, last year. So he got a book published at 94, 95 years old, which is impressive on its own. But here we go. I'll read the back cover of the book as an intro. Francis A. Hebert, born 1928 in Southwest Louisiana. Self-motivated to make his way early in life, he was a farm and field worker, freight train hobo, U.S. Army Air Force soldier, construction worker, trucking business owner, and inventor. Now, if that doesn't pique your interest, then I don't know what will. I read his book. If you're in either location, Thibodaux or Gray, you can find this book on the shelf or near the register somewhere. Grab it, give it a read. It's not a long one. It's very interesting, very thought-provoking, and you should have tons of questions after you're done. And maybe you read it already, and maybe you'll have some of those questions answered somewhere within this podcast. It's a long one, so buckle up and get ready because we'll get into all of those things I just mentioned. Here we go, Mr. Francis.
Well, so I met you through Pawpaw at Spars. You're about the same thing? Yep, running into Mr. Francis at Spars. If you ever in Spars, I don't know, before 8 a.m, you're going to see Mr. Francis there. He's going to be sitting.
Yeah, I'll go there. Well, like this morning, I got there at a little bit before 6.
Right.
Like about 10 minutes to 6 or something. I leave home at about 20 minutes to 6. It'd take me 10 minutes to get there.
And you've been doing that for how many years?
A long, long time. I don't...
10 years?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably that much, yeah.
And our grandpa would go meet you there almost every morning.
Yeah.
And that's how we met. But what's your earliest memories of Pawpaw or the meat market in general?
Well, I knew it existed. I knew it was there. And I didn't know your grandpa. I knew him well when I saw him, but I didn't know him well in the early years.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. And I really started talking. We really started talking a lot when he would come to Spars.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd sit down there, and he was my age, or he was a little older than me. He was 3 years older than me. And we'd sit down and we'd talk, and we got along fine. And we could talk because of the age thing put us in the same page, And we could talk about many different things that other people didn't know what we talked about. And so we got along fine. Yeah, we got along fine.
What did y'all mostly talk about?
Well, we talked about when he started the meat market. He was a butcher.
Mm-hmm.
He would butcher his own cattle. And he did that for a long time.
Mhm.
And he tried, he told me, he said, when I'd buy cattle, a lot of times, I was the one that had to get him. I'd have to get the cow, some kind, or the bull or something. So he said, I thought I'd get me a horse. And he said, that didn't work. That didn't work at all. he said, I found out I was not a cowboy. So then he got a rifle. And then he said, I had to pick the damn thing up and get it in the trailer, So he said, none of it was great. But he said, that's what I did. That's what I had to do,
Mm-hmm.
I remember one thing he told me one time. He said, that meat market didn't just happen. It was work.
Mm-hmm.
It was work, and it was continuous. And he said, I tried many things in the cooking of sausage and everything else, boudin and all that, hog head cheese. He said, that didn't just happen. I had to come up with the plan to make that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, I had to make something that people bought, people wanted. It don't matter what your taste is. It's your customers. You can please customers,
Mm-hmm.
And he said, so it didn't just happen. It was a lot of work, he said, I had to do a lot of thinking to come up with what I have now. And he was already out of it. He was, your daddy had it at the time.
Yeah.
And, he said it wasn't all that easy. No.
Not. Now, you were raised in Gibson, right, Mr. Francis?
Yes, I was born and raised in Gibson, yeah.
So when was the first time you went into the meat market? Were you a kid? Were you an adult?
No, I was an adult. Well, hell, I didn't have any money. In those days, money was hard to come by. But I was a grown person. I remember that. And the crackling that y'all used to make, oh, man. I ate a lot of them.
Mr. Cleve used to make those.
A lot of time, when I'd pass that, I'd stop just to get me a bag of cracklings.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were good. And I never heard anybody say they wasn't. They really were good. And that's the reason why I started stopping there. And your grandpa, I'd see him sometimes, and all we do is say hello. We didn't have no connection, you might say. I think that the connection. I saw your grandpa a time or two in his boat fishing,
Mm-hmm.
But hell, I see a lot of people, and your grandpa didn't fish bass too much. He'd fish catfish.
Mm-hmm.
Catfish and perch.
Yeah, catfish and perch. And me, I was bass. I'd fish bass only. Unless I wanted to eat fish, then I would catch me a few sac-a-lait,
Mm-hmm.
But at spars, we'd sit there at the counter and we'd talk. And we got to know each other pretty well. And we got along just fine. We was, like I said before, the age bracket was such that we could talk about things,
Mm-hmm. Speaking of age, Mr. Francis, your birthday was yesterday. You're 96. Happy birthday.
Yeah, well, I was 96 yesterday. Yes, sir, that's right. Yeah.
I heard you went to Spars and they had something special for you.
Well, they had a pie.
They made you a pie. Cool. They never made me a pie. So you must have done something right.
A lemon meringue pie, and that sucker was this big, man. Great, big. And one of the waitresses there made the pie,
Mm-hmm.
and she's very good cook,
Mm-hmm.
very good cook. And they had a very, very nice pie. Everybody there ate pie. And
We should have made it. I'm sorry we missed that.
Oh yeah,
They love you over there. They came in, they stopped, they were talking about the podcast, and we told them you were coming on tomorrow, and they're excited to hear that. So they'll all be itching to listen to this.
yeah. Well, let me see, Han. You know Han.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she know you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she told me, she said, Mr. Francis, do you know what that's about? I said, no. I said, no, I don't know. She said, well, she started laughing. She said, it's not nothing that'll bother you.
Mm-mm.
She said, because you talk all the damn time anyway. You never shut up.
That's fine.
You're always talking. So it'll be right up your alley. And yeah, she know y'all very well.
Oh, yeah.
Han does, yeah. She's been there a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's been there a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's still there. I talked to her this morning. She was there.
We like that. We always like seeing, when we go in there, we like seeing you and Pawpaw or whoever, the regulars.
Yeah.
The regulars.
Yeah.
They got a little spot to drink coffee and BS, and that's cool. And we love to have something like that at the old market. Some little stools at the counter where people just show up and have a little coffee.
Yeah.
Hit the road.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
A coffee shop, for a coffee shop to be success, it's got to be where, I don't know what word to use. I know what I want to say, but I don't know. It's got to be a place where people can go and be comfortable.
Yeah.
You want to walk in and feel like you walked into your own house.
Mm-hmm.
You can be comfortable. You can sit there and drink coffee, and if you get some on your chin or something, it don't matter. Somebody will tell you, wipe your chin. and everybody there is, we talk about each other all the time. All the time.
It's fun.
It's a constant thing.
Oh, and everybody's...
and nobody leaves mad.
Mm-hmm.
It's a constant thing. And that's the only way it can work. The atmosphere of walking in. I know some places I don't go because I don't like. I look around and I say, I ain't got no damn business here. Everybody else do the same thing.
Right.
They may not say it, but they feel the same thing. They feel it.
And they know that.
Yeah.
Spars knows that, and they
know it.
They do. They keep it a certain way.
They know it
with intention.
They know it. Don't complicate this. Don't complicate this. People come here to talk, to visit, and it's something that get to you. Like me, I've been going there for a long, long time. I don't know how many people I met there. Many, many, many. That I wouldn't have met in my life if I wouldn't have gone there, you know. And even today, well, your grandpa and I, we got to be pretty good friends. We talk, man. We talk. We say all kind of stuff. And sometimes I'd be home, and doing nothing. Or maybe messing with that book, writing that book. That was a job, man. Oh, that was a lot of work. The phone would ring and it was your grandpa. He said, you know who this is? I said, no, I don't know who it is, but I did know. Well, he said, this is Lester Bourgeois. That's who the hell this is. And he said, I'm hungry. I am hungry. I want to go and eat. Can you bring me somewhere where I can eat? I said, yep. I said, I'll be there shortly. Put my pencil down and take off, go to his house. And he was there waiting. Man, he said, I'm hungry. God damn, I'm hungry. What? He said, why can't I go? I said, you got spars unless you want to go somewhere. Well, we went to this Almonds. We'd leave Treven. I said, by the way, I said, Lester, I said, you're an old man, huh? Yeah, he said, I'm getting pretty damn old. I said, you don't drive, do you? No. I drove my car in the bayou. Well, yeah, that's what he did. He drove it in the bayou.
Yeah.
And I said, well, look at me. I said, do you feel comfortable sitting in that damn passenger seat there? I said, you might say this is the blind leading the blind. Because I'm not very far from you, you know. Yeah, he said, I'll watch you. He said, I'll pay attention. I'll pay attention to you.
I'm keeping you
Yeah.
in check.
Yeah. He said, I'll pay attention. Don't think I don't. But that's the way we talk, you know. It was not the way it's supposed to be, you know. Or the way at one time, 1,000 years ago, that's the way it was. Men would get together and talk like men, you know. They didn't make no big deal out of popping their mouth and try to make yourself believe like you're something. Hell, you what you are, you know. And that's the way it was. That's just the way it was right there. It was just as common as that. And
so you turned 96 Wednesday, correct?
yes.
And you were born 1928.
Yep.
And where were you born?
I was born in the house at Gibson, in Gibson. Yeah.
And that was 1,000 years ago.
That's what it looks like.
What was it like 1,000 years ago? What do you remember from, your early? That's Depression.
Shane, I'm going to say this. The difference is huge.
I bet.
The difference between now and then is huge. It's huge, especially in Gibson. Now, you got to keep in mind, Gibson was isolated. It's in the western part of Terrebonne Parish. There was no such thing as jobs around Gibson unless it was in timber, like the Donner Sawmill.
Yeah.
The Donner Sawmill was its cypress mill. All they cut was cypress trees, and they hired a lot of people. It was a big operation. Donner was a little community that was built around the sawmill. When the sawmill left, boom, everything gone. Everything, there's nothing left. Nothing left. But that was the only, you couldn't get a job. There was no other job until later on, like when I was about 7 or 8, or even before that, maybe 6, 7, 8, rice fields. In Gibson, they had 4 rice fields, 4 of them. Now, that's a lot of rice. And I was a kid, and it's in that book. I was hired to keep the birds. In those days, they didn't have 2 or 3 birds. You'd see a cloud of birds. Red-winged blackbirds, man, the sky was full. And when they would land on the rice, their weight on the rice, the stalk would bend and the seeds would fall in the water and it would mildew. The rice would mildew. It was no good. So keeping the birds out of the rice field was a must. You had to do it because they would wipe you out. And that was my job.
You were about 7 years old?
Yeah.
And how would you keep them out? You
you were just like a big scarecrow?
You go run around?
Oh, no. I had a 22 rifle.
A 7-year-old with a 22.
I had a 22 rifle with a single shot 22 rifle and a 12-gauge shotgun, double barrel. I'm a little kid and I'm loaded down with guns and ammunition. I had a bag that would hang around my neck, and it was full of ammunition. Every morning, that rifleman would give me the ammunition, and he said, "This afternoon, when you leave, I don't want you to have one shell left. Not one.
That's awesome.
You shoot them. Yeah, keep the birds out." And that's what I did.
Was it your rifles?
Yeah.
Where are they today? You still have them?
That rifle, I believe, is in South Carolina, and it belonged to my sister. This is the story there. My daddy, when he died, he was on his deathbed, and he asked me, he said, "Francis, her husband had just died. Her husband had just died." He said, "Look, He said, I don't have all that much, but he said, what I've got, I would like for it to go to my daughter, Alice. That was my daughter's name, my sister's name. I said, that's fine with me. That's fine. I said, I think you're right. So that's what happened. Everything, including that rifle and that shotgun, belonged to her. It was her. He wanted her to have everything, so that it was hers. And when she died, which was not that long after herself, she died, then it went to her kids. And her kids were kids, you know. The property and everything went to her kids. And that's what a rifle is. Yeah. And I know I can't say for sure where it's at, but I do know that it was her brother. It was her brother that got the rifle.
That's cool.
And
someone still has it.
To me, that rifle would be worth $1 million.
I bet.
just to look at it again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's gone. That is gone. That's gone.
So, what did your parents do? What'd your dad do for a living?
My daddy was. He farmed, and he worked for Norman and Beau Lumber Company with pull boats that to pull timber out of the swamp. The big steam engine, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was a boiler and a steam engine on a barge that was built for that, and you'd pull the damn big old drums on there. The cable would go very far out in the swamp, and they had pins on they had chains on, great big chains on the cable with pins on them about this long, and they'd bore a hole in the tree and put the pins in there, and you'd pull them.
Mm-hmm.
Pull the logs to the pull boat, which was in a canal in deep water. And then it would raft the logs up and tow them to the sawmill the sawmill was in Morgan City.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen rafts of logs. Now, this is the truth. Logs were rafted up in Bayou Black for a mile long. The raft, they'd make rafts with
mm-hmm.
log. And I saw the thing was a mile long, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they did it in those days, and that's what my daddy did. At first, the job he had when he was doing farming, and on weekends, he had a job going out there to that pull boat, and they had a great big camp. They had a big 2-story camp. And he was a watchman over the weekend from Friday to Monday, because they'd go home on Friday afternoon and they'd come back on Monday. Well, that was his job. And then later on, the engineer that was actually operating the engine, I don't know what happened to him, to tell you the truth, I don't remember. But he left, and my dad took over his job, running the engine. And that was until every last log was pulled out of the swamp. Norman and Beau was not a cypress deal. It was tupla. They cut down tupla trees, and they would haul the tupla trees out. Didn't mess with no cypress at all. It was just tupla. And some big ones. I mean, great big logs. And until that run out, then there was nothing. That was nothing. But it wasn't long. It wasn't long after that the Second World War was in the beginning. The Second World War was when Germany, that's what created the Second World War. The Germans took Poland. And when that happened, England knew that they were going to be in the bullseye, because that's what Hitler wanted. He wanted England And he wanted it for a very good purpose. That was to keep the United States from having a place to land, place to work out of. And that created jobs. Like the PT boat. The PT boat was built in New Orleans. And it gave a lot of work. That was a lot of work for people. And then they made dry docks, what they call floating dry docks. And floating dry docks were the two huge barges that had an opening in the middle. They were hooked together. And they could actually pick up a ship in the ocean. They called it it was a floating dry dock.
Mm-hmm.
They made that. A lot of the parts for it was made in Morgan City. And a lot of work, man. Lots of work, 7 days a week. The war. That gave people jobs. And that's when the American people changed, right there. Take my word for it. There was a change in the air. People started to act different. They started to be different. They had a job to go to. They're making money. They could do things that they didn't dream about doing before. And the American people started to change. Look, I say this just the way I'm saying it because I could see it. I could see the change. It was like it looked like a cloud on the horizon. It was changing. And would you believe that it has never stopped?
Never stopped changing?
Changing.
Right.
It has never, ever stopped. People change, and they still are. People are changing. I don't know why. I don't know why. You see, I want to tell you this because it's the truth. Because one day you're going to be old.
I hope so.
If we do something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be old. And I do believe that you're gonna look back and say, older people are treated different. Okay? I know that. I see it, I know it, I feel it, and I know it. Older people have a tendency, and I tried very hard not to let myself fall in that rut. Old people have a tendency to be a little bit strange to young people. Not necessarily in a way that you would say strange because they're crazy or nothing. No. We don't think the same. We know we don't think the same. We know we're not the same. And we know we old. There's a difference. There is something in the air. It's a change. But Shane, I say this, and I always will say it because it's true. The American people are changing right now. I don't know if you watch the news. Like this morning in Washington, D.C., people were protesting Israel and I don't know what else, burning flags, defacing government property, including the Liberty Bell. They spray painted the Liberty Bell, wrote a lot of different things on it that was not good. People are demonstrating today. People call a demonstration today anything they want to do. They don't want to set fire to your place. They set fire to it. It's not right. It's not right. It's just not right. I don't know why it's that way, except I know this. I'm going to say something that's going to sound very strange. There are no more John Waynes, okay? Now that may sound ignorant. It may sound dumb. But the West. Our country, the western part of our country, was tamed by less than 10% of the people. And the others were hiding behind rocks, hoping that everything would fall in a pleasant way for them. But there's a very few that put their neck out there to make the change that needed to be made to get where it is now. To get where it is now. That was the beginning of getting where it is now. And they got people today that would destroy it like that.
It kind of goes back to what you said earlier. You were talking about the officer. They had so much time to think and think and think and think because they want the perfect plan.
Yeah.
When you come in and you just have a plan and you do it now.
Yeah, that's right.
I've heard that said before that a decent decision now on time is much better than the perfect decision too late.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, it goes. It's like what we said with the officer. A lot of officers, they want to have the decision that's the only decision, and it's the right decision.
Well, they don't want to be wrong.
And it comes too late sometimes.
Yes.
Yes.
And the case you're talking about was very, very serious because you got to keep in mind, we were there and there's daytime. The daytime over there was 24 hours a day. And then little by little, it would start getting dark. And then after a while, in about 2 months' time, it took about 2 months, but in a little time, there was no daylight at all. It was dark. And an airplane could not get to us. And the only way out was an airplane that you could not get out in. Well, you could get out with dog sleds, and we didn't have the sled, and we didn't have the dog. So it was a must that airplane be moved. It had to be moved now because the airplanes that are due to come and get us are waiting in Newfoundland. Newfoundland was way east of where we were. And they can't go anywhere until that plane is off the runway because the plane was right in the middle of the runway. So it was, look, everybody said, boy, we're in trouble. If that plane is not moved, and if it's not moved in a hurry, they won't be able to come get us. We're going to have to spend the winter here in the dark, however way we could. And nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted that. And of course, a lot of the people, and that included the officers, wanted to go home. They had been there 7 months.
Right.
And we were isolated on this island. And they were, myself, I didn't care. I really didn't. I was having fun. But I probably would have cared if the airplane couldn't come and get us, because the dark, hell, it would have been hell. It wouldn't have been good. So it had to be done.
Yeah, and you stuck your neck out, you stepped up, and you made something happen.
I looked at it. When I got there, I looked at it and I said, well, this is not a problem. I said, it's not a problem at all. I said, I can move it in less than 2 hours, and the major heard me, and that's how I got started. That's how I got mixed up in. Because he said, you better be able to move.
So let's go back to 7 years old and maybe a little bit after that. I know because I read some of the book and I know from some of the stories I've heard, but you got out of here. You left Gibson.
Yeah.
And
I left Gibson and went on a tugboat.
That was your first time out of Gibson?
Oh, yeah.
Tugboat. How old?
12 years old.
12 years old.
And in those days, remember, the war had started already. Not with Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Not with Japan, but in Europe. In Europe, the United States never did declare war in Europe. It was, I don't know, they had a name for it. I don't quite remember what it was now. But they didn't declare war in Europe, and they said that they had a political reason to do that. And anyway, they didn't. But when I was 12 years old, all the grown men that could be a soldier was being drafted.
This would have been in 1940?
Oh, yeah. It would have been in...
Yeah. The war was 41 to 43?
Huh?
41 to 43 was the war.
Yeah, something like that.
So you'd have been getting ready. Okay, so you leave Gibson and you hit a tugboat to do what?
Well, we were moving oil barges.
So you had a job.
Yes, I had a job, man. Can you imagine that? And I thought I was making lots of money. And I was making money. Yeah, I had a job. And moving barges, oil, everything. Just, I would say that 90% of what we did was oil related,
Right.
Or maybe gas, because we did move gas barges, barges loaded with gas, aviation gas, and or vehicle gas, because there's a difference. And that's what we did. That's what we did.
And where were you moving to and from?
Well, Sun Oil Company. I'm sure you remember that. You've seen that name.
Okay, yeah.
Sun Oil Company had an oil field in Chacahula. And the oil field in Chacahula, they put in a pipeline to some big tanks. And the tanks are still there in Gibson in the front of my daddy's house. And that tugboat used to come there and pick the barges up.
And what was so what were you doing at 12? What did they have you doing?
What
was your job?
Well, I was what they called a deckhand.
So anything and everything. You cleaning?
Everything. But I wanted to go in the engine room. I wanted to operate the engine. And I knew it was going to take a while. But after about 7 or 8 months, something happened that I just remember now, that the engineer quit or you got fired, one or the other, I don't remember. And the skipper asked me, he said, you think you can operate that engine? I said, I know I can. Do you know all the bells and the whistles? I said, yep, I know everyone. Okay.
And did you?
I did.
You did.
I knew every sound that had to be listened to. The skipper's in the wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And the engine is way down in the hull down there, below water level. You look out of the porthole, and in rough water, you see water. Mm-hmm. That's what you see. But signals, the skipper would send signals with a bell. He'd ring a bell, and that bell would tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Forward, reverse, slow, medium, fast. Everything that you needed to know came from that bell.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bell about this big with 2 hammers on it. 2 hammers, one on each side like that. And that's where I got my directions. What to do with those 2 hammers. And you learn that real quick. It's no big deal. Mm-hmm. But don't make no mistake. Oh, you make a mistake, all hell breaks loose, Because if a tugboat needs to back up, it better back up, not go forward, because it's been damaging.
So now you're 12 and you're on the tugboats, and you made another move after that. You got out of state. How did that come to be?
I got out of what?
When did you get out of Louisiana?
That was train ride.
But that was how long after this?
I stayed on that tugboat about 2 years. And I was in Plaquemine, Louisiana. I remember Plaquemine. It was in Plaquemine, Louisiana. And Plaquemine had a set of locks that you could get into the Mississippi River. Or if you were in the Mississippi, you could get out through the locks.
Mm-hmm.
And we were coming out of the locks into Plaquemine, and I was there on those barges. And I'm saying, you know what? I kind of like this job, but it's getting to be dull, It's getting to be... I want to do something there. I'm going to ride trains. That's when I made the decision right there in Plaquemine, Louisiana.
What'd you know about train? You knew someone else. Did you know someone else who had done it?
No.
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 You just seen a train on the track.
I saw him all my life.
And you just thought you wanted
the
to get on
used
one.
To pass. I could see the trains pass from the house where I lived in Gibson in the day. And they had a lot of trains. Well, you see one train a day, there used to be 5 or 6 along in my day. There was a lot of trains. And I used to say to myself, that's my way out of this town. That's my way out of Gibson. And I kept thinking about that. And I said, well, that's what I did. I jumped a freight train, and I got on a freight train. I didn't know nothing.
What train was it? Do you remember?
No. And it's not the same company as today.
Gotcha.
Like Southern Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
Southern Pacific, I knew that name like I knew my own, because I used to watch them. And the name of the company was the Southern Pacific. And it went all the way to the West Coast. And I said, that's the one I want right there. And, to ride a freight train, it's not like taking a trip in a car or anything else. Anything else at all. Because you normally want to find a boxcar to get in. Because you got weather, you got rain, you got hot sun, you got everything. The boxcar was your refuge, And when it got dark at night, you need to sleep, you need rest, And you rested as good as you could in the boxcar. So that meant that you didn't see where you were. The train is traveling 50, 60 miles an hour, and you're not sure where you are.
Mm-hmm.
You have no signs. There are no signs along the railroad telling you the name of anything. The only thing that you could get the name of the nearby city or town was a water tower.
If you pass right next to it,
if you passed close enough to a water tower to see the name written on the water tower, you knew where you were.
What's the first water tower you remember seeing?
The first water tower, I was way far from home. Way far from home when I saw this. When I saw this name, and it was Santa Fe. The Santa Fe was the Santa Fe at one time was the train company.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'd go now. The Memphis and something like Memphis and Topeka, Santa Fe. That was it. Memphis, Topeka, Santa Fe. That's it, right there. I remember that. I remember seeing that Santa Fe. That was New Mexico. That's how far away I was from home.
And all right, you get on a train for the first time. You were about 15, right?
I was less than that. I was traveling near. I was in my 13th year.
All right, and you get on it, and you just know that you're going towards the West Coast, right? Or did you have a destination?
No, I had no destination. Well, yes, I did have a destination. I wanted to go as far as the trains went, and that was the Pacific Ocean. They went to Los Angeles, and that you couldn't go no further than that.
And what was the motivation to do this? Job, or just you wanted a different view?
I just wanted to do it. I just said I want to do this. I want to ride these damn trains, and I want to see what's left in the world.
Mm-hmm. I
was so used to Gibson with nothing.
Right.
I wanted to see what the world was like.
You didn't know anyone that had gone?
No.
So you can't ask your buddy what it's like.
No, ain't nobody.
You can't Yeah.
You didn't know. The only person that you debated anything with was yourself. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You debated things with yourself. And you didn't have no time set up to do it. You got up, or if you were in a boxcar and you woke up in the morning, sometimes the train was moving, sometimes it wasn't. You'd say, well, let me look around and see what's going on. And you pay attention to the whistle. Always listen for the whistle. Because the whistles is what the train is going to do, you know. Oh, yeah, you learn those whistles quick.
You'd get off, you'd stop in the city and you'd get off and maybe find some work, find a job.
I did it several times. And I stayed there. The first time that I got off a train looking for work was I needed to eat bad. You got no food. You get weak and you got to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I got off the train in the biggest little city in the world. And I didn't have to walk but about 200 or 300 yards. And in those days, they had service stations, service stations. Not what you see today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you put your car up there and somebody would put the fuel in the car, check the tires, the oil and all that, would clean the windshield. They had somebody there to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that station, and I needed to eat and I needed water. So I got both. I got the water, and I asked the guy, and a middle-aged man, and, if he had a job, he said, well, what you want to do? I said, I'll do anything for food. I don't want no money, just food. I'm hungry. All right. See, when the next time a car comes in here, you ask him what he wants, do what he wants. Whatever he tells you, you do. If he wants the windshield clean, you do it. And put gas in the car, and you collect the money. Oh, I said, this sounds like all right. And I was familiar somewhat with service stations.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I worked there, but I was familiar with them. So I did that. And when it got dark and he was going to close the station, he said, where you go to sleep tonight, boy? I said, wherever I can. He said, if you want, you can sleep right back here in the shop. Well, that was a good start. That was as good as he'd get. I was off the ground. I didn't have to worry about nothing getting the best of me. And it worked out good. The man's name was Mr. Bevilacqua. Can you imagine? I remember that name. His name was Bevilacqua. He was a foreigner. And you could tell he was a foreigner. You could tell the way he acted, the way he walked, the way he talked, and all of that. But a very nice fellow, very nice fellow. And he had several service stations. He had more than one. And he had a plant. He had his own tanks and delivery bulk plant that he would furnish his own restaurants. Own service stations. And he had a house moving business, moving houses. And I worked at everything. Man, I did every damn thing. Sure.
So you stayed there a while? Yeah,
I stayed there a while. And I liked it there, man. Hell, I said, this was something for me, man. Hell.
While you were there, the train you got on, it goes, and does it?
Oh,
you see
train,
it?
I'd see them pass all day.
The same? Would you ever see the same train you got on?
Well, you couldn't tell.
You wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah, no, you couldn't tell. No, they all looked the same. But that's the place, and I got that in that book. What made me leave was I was told by an elder, an old man that worked for him, we talk, on the side. Nobody hears. He said, I guess you know that the reason why that old man treats you the way he do is because you look just like his son. And his son just got killed in the Navy. And his wife was the same way. I noticed that when she'd give me food to eat all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that his wife would look at me strange, And I say, you know what? This is not going to work. I got to get away from here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. To me, this was a rainbow. It was the part of the day of the rainbow, man. Mm-hmm. Everything was going good. But I couldn't stay there.
Didn't feel right.
No.
All right, where you went next?
I took a ride. Look, I had money. Hey, I had money.
How much money?
I probably had around $200. Because he would pay me $6 a day, and he'd give me food. And he would buy my dinner, my dinner, not the breakfast or supper, but my dinner.
Mm.
So, hell, I had money. I didn't go nowhere. I didn't have nothing to do, Nothing to do but work. I bought a ticket, and I went almost into Canada on a Greyhound bus. And then I said, you know what? I don't want to ride that damn bus here. All these damn people around me. I got off, and I started checking the railroad. And it wasn't long. I found a switchyard. I was told what a switchyard was. And I walked there. And sure enough, I got in that switchyard, and sooner or later, a train pulled up and stopped to put water. A steam engine got to have a lot of water. And they get a lot of coal, too. Mm-hmm. They got to refurbish the coal car. And I got on the train, and I was following the Canadian border into Montana, Wisconsin. I remember going into Patton. I remember passing by the stock. You said, look, you want to talk about stockyard in Chicago? Maybe you read about those things. Man, they had 10 miles of stockyard. Cattle. Mm-hmm. Cattle, man, God damn. There was cattle everywhere. A stockyard, Mm-hmm. And the train passed right by. And the train was going east. And I said, I don't want to go east. The eastern part of the United States didn't interest me no whole lot. So I got off again, and I hitchhiked all the way to, I wound up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I caught a ride there on the train. You see, a long time ago, they didn't have trains from the north to the south. All train lines went east and west. You either went west or you went east, one or the other. Mm. But they didn't go south. They didn't do that. I don't think they do much today. I don't think so. Anyway, that's what I did. And Santa Fe, New Mexico, in those days wasn't much, no.
When you got on that first train, or let's call it the second, when you got on the Greyhound, mm-hmm. You got that you bought that bus ticket. What kind of looks are you getting when you're a young kid and you traveling around by yourself? Are you getting looks, or is that a normal thing and you see other kids on their own running away from home?
Now come again.
When you got on that bus, nobody looked at you funny or
asked, yeah, I was dirty.
They asked where your family was and where you lived?
No, never. I never ever had that happen. The only thing that ever happened, because I was a bum, because that's what I was, man. I was a railroad bum.
You were a hobo.
A hobo. I was hitchhiking to get to a switchyard, and a deputy passed, and he stopped, and he picked me up. And he wasn't talkative very much. He said, look, I'm not going to ask you a whole lot, but I'm going to tell you one thing. I am going to take you through that little town. I'm going to take you through there. and I'm going to drop you off where you can get on a train. And he said, but if you turn around and come back to that little town, I'm going to put your ass in jail. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm saying to myself, good old America. Yeah, I'm going to get put in jail if I go back to town. And I knew I was laughing about it, too. I was laughing to myself. Hell, I look bad, man. Look, I was in bad shape. Clothes, shoes, and everything.
Did you have anything with you?
No.
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 Pocket knife?
Mm-mm.
Nothing.
Mm-mm. I had.
What other kind of jobs did you pick up while?
All right. One job I picked up was in California on Sunset Boulevard. I worked as a busboy in a restaurant. And I mean a nice place, considering the time it was, you know. This was a hell of a nice place. Great, big restaurant. And the one thing I do remember, they had a lot of mirrors on the wall. They had sections of the wall that was all mirrors. You could see the front of you. You could see the back of you. You look up, you could see yourself from that. You could see from the top.
Mm-hmm.
That mirrors above you. The damnedest, it was a hell of a nice place. And it was for rich people, you know. But I was a busboy, and I stayed there a long time. I stayed there long. I stayed there over 2 months. I know it was over 2 months.
You make any friends?
I guess you might call it friend, but it's an acquaintance, you know.
When you traveled, doing the trains and the buses, you're always by yourself?
Yes, by myself. I did not want nobody around me at all. Nobody.
Did people try? Did you ever had another hobo want to join you?
There were several trains I was on that I knew that they had a couple of hobos on it. No, we didn't mingle. They were just more or less like me.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want no company.
I guess it's competition, right? If you have another hobo with you and you stop at a new town and you try to get a job, they might get the job.
Well, that could happen.
So you probably don't want that.
That could happen. Now, you got to remember, a long time ago, they had what they called a hobo jungle. Now, the hobo jungle was a place where hobos got together.
Mm-hmm.
They would get together. They would find out where this place was, one way or another, and they had food.
I've looked into this. This is a place where they could easily get on and off the trains undetected, correct?
That's right. And another thing, the town next door, which wasn't very far, would furnish groceries.
To keep you away.
Don't come to town. Oh, no, don't.
Right.
If we see you in town, we're going to beat the devil out of you. They would bring food, potatoes, onions, and cabbage, and food that you could cook. Beans, pretty much all kind of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that didn't need refrigeration. And, and you could cook. You had frying pans and stuff, and they'd give us oil, cooking oil and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay. They called it the hobo jungle. And it was a safe place you could sleep. And I never heard of one hobo trying to hurt another one or stealing. Hell, nobody had nothing you could steal.
I read that there's a hobo code of ethics. There's 15 rules that you have to follow if you want to be a hobo.
Well, I heard of them.
You might have written it. I don't know.
No. I've heard of them. You know, and one of them is you shut up unless you asked. If somebody asks you something, you answer. And the other one is, don't think you're welcome. Don't never walk up to a hobo and think you're welcome. He probably don't want to see you. He got nothing to say to you. He know your condition, you know his. That's all. That's it. And where you're going is not important. Not important to him, or, where he's going not important to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're by yourself. You're by yourself. That's all there is to it. One time, I was in a gondola, and the guy was coming. He was walking on top of the train, and when he got in the gondola, he saw me. He didn't see me until he got there, and he got in, and he passed by me, going to the other end of the gondola. He was going to keep going, get on the top, going on the train, and he turned around and looked at me. He said, I've never seen a little boy hoboing before. Did somebody put you on this train? Yeah. Hell, I was young. Very young. He said, I never saw a boy riding on a train. Did somebody put you on this train? And I started to say something, and he turned around and left. That was the only mention of ever. Look, I was about 13 and a half years old, something like that. I wasn't very old, no. I was a kid. That's what I was. And he looked at me and said, did somebody put you on this train? I didn't know.
Did you have a nickname?
Never did.
Never did. I read that a lot of hobos have nicknames.
No. I myself, look, I went to a hobo jungle one time. I didn't like it. I didn't like it because there were other people there. I said there might have been 15,
Mm-hmm.
And they were all much older than me, I didn't have no conversation. I couldn't say that I could have a conversation with them. I didn't have because of the age difference, And I always was, even today, I'm by myself. I don't want a crowd around me. I like to be, people say, how in the hell do you live by yourself? I said, it's very easy, very easy. And I live by myself today, right now. And when I was a kid, I was never home. I was by myself. I didn't have no friends. And riding the railroad, no friends. I didn't want none. I didn't want to see nobody. I didn't care. Didn't matter. It just didn't matter. That's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm. So you remember the guy from the first place you got off on the train, but do you remember any other names or people you met along?
Yes. This guy was I went to his house. What the hell was his damn name? His name, I knew his name all my life. I knew this guy's name. He was and I'm sure you've seen pictures or read about it, or maybe in the movies. The what they call a tree topper.
Mm-hmm.
They climbed the tree with in those days there was no chainsaws. It was by hand.
Mm-hmm.
They hang the saw on that belt, and they climb a tree way to the top, and they knew where to cut it, And they cut the top of the tree off. The whole damn top had come down. And the reason they were doing that was the tree's tall. And we're talking about trees 100, 125, 50 feet low.
Mm-hmm.
Tall, And if you cut them, and when they fall down, they'll break because of the speed they fall, and the length, they'll break or they'll split, which will ruin the timber.
Mm-hmm.
So they cut the top off to make sure that didn't happen. And that's what he did for a living. In those days, there was a lot of that going on. He was a tree topper. He was not very big, but a very powerful built man. You could tell, a very strong man. I'm trying to think of his damn name.
Well, you stayed with him. You stayed at his house?
Yeah, I stayed at his house.
Did some work?
Yeah. Oh, it work was all the time. That's the way I earned my food.
So, how'd you get from the hoboing to your time in the service?
Well, they had a fellow. His name was, maybe I ought to not say his name, but that I knew the family well. I knew the family well from before I left Gibson. And he wanted to go in the service. He wanted to go in the service, and he was old enough. He was 18,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't. I tried, but they wouldn't take me, you know. And they just kept putting me off. And one day, one of them told me, he said, "Look," you've been bothering us for a year. Get your daddy to sign some." They gave me the papers. He said, "You get your daddy to look at these papers here." And he said, "If he want to sign them, you come back here and tell us, and we'll go over there and he can sign them with us. And you're going to be in the Army." So I said, okay. And I did just that. And I went in the Army.
You had gotten back home. How'd you get back home? I skipped that part.
From
so
where?
you came back home from the West Coast.
Oh, yeah.
You came back home and then joined the Army.
The last trip I took coming back home it was one that I remember well because certain things happened. You know, a train ride is repetition, repetition. What you did yesterday is pretty much what you're going to do today. You're just not going to be in the same place, that's all. But on this trip, I got on the train. I got on a train in Lake Charles. I'm on my way back. And when I got to New Iberia, I didn't know I was in New Iberia. I didn't have no idea where the hell I was at. But it was in the morning, it was at night, it was dark, and I could hear the roosters crowing, and I could hear dogs barking. Rooster crowing and dogs barking. And I said, oh, damn, I'm not in town because they don't have no roosters in town much. So I got out of the boxcar and I started walking down the track, and I could tell it was daybreak. I could tell the weather, from night to day,
Mm-hmm.
And he got a fella I noticed in the back of me following me. And he got a lantern, he got a railroad lantern. And that's why I knew he worked for the railroad, because he had a railroad lantern.
Mm-hmm.
It was red and green. One side was green, one side was red. So I slowed down, and he caught up with me. And he was checking the switches, the switches that let trains on and off the main line.
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing something with, they had a bunch of them in that area, and he was checking them. So when he got to me, he asked me a few words, not much. And I asked him, I said, what time will the next train pass going east? He said, it'll be right around 8 o'clock. Well, that didn't mean nothing to me. I didn't have no watch. And he said, now listen, he said, this is a through train. This train left Lake Charles, and when it left Lake Charles, it's not going to stop until it gets to Avondale. Well, Avondale, about a year-long bridge.
Okay.
He said it don't stop anywhere. I said, well, no, I don't need that. I said, how fast is it going? He said, look. He said, the speed limit here, right where you're standing, for that train is 30 miles an hour. What? 30 miles an hour is fast. He said, look. He said, to get on it, you got to be damn good. And he said, if you got to get off of it before it gets to Avondale, you better be damn good too, because it's not going to slow down much. So I said, well, we'll see. So he left, and he went back to his house. Yeah, had an old house not far from the track. That's where he came from. And after a while, he come back. And he had a paper bag in his hand, and he handed it to me and said, here. He said, I know you're hungry. I said, oh, yeah. And it was a sandwich, homemade bread and salt meat, which was very popular in those days, very popular. Salt meat didn't need no refrigeration, and it's self-preserving. Man, I ate that sandwich. God help me. I could still be eating that sandwich. I swear.
That's a good
That
sandwich.
was the best sandwich I ever ate in my life. And I ate that darn thing, and sure enough, it wasn't, it was a while. It was a while. But I heard that train coming. I could hear that damn train getting miles. I said, well, here comes the, look, now we'll find out if you're a hobo. Man, that train comes down, he slowed down. And when you're a hobo, you know what the train is doing. You can instantly tell. You can tell by the sound and the couplings. From
Here in
one
Lincoln. Chink, chink,
Yeah,
chink, chink.
from one link to another, you can tell by the sound they make. He's slowing down. I said, he's slowing down. I said, I'm going to get on that damn train. When they passed by me, I looked at a step that I was going to catch. I took off running as fast as I could run. And when that step got passed by me, I reached out and grabbed it like to pull both arms off, man. And I went sailing through the air. And it wasn't the first time that happened. But in this time, I was like Superman, man. I hit the ground and flipped over and turned I said, well, I didn't break nothing. That's good. I got up, looked around. I said, I'm going to get on the next. Goddamn, I got after it again. The second time, I grabbed it and held on. I was like a flag flying. And that's why those school kids were throwing rocks at me. The school kids
They
going
just
to
saw
school.
a hobo flying through the air.
Yeah.
Perfect target.
The school kids going to school had to wait till the train passed so that they could continue that walk to school. And they'd take them damn railroad rocks. Bang, bang, I'd hear them hitting the side. I'd hear them hit the boxcar, I said, that's what I need. And son of a bitch shoot them, they throw rocks at me. But anyway, I climbed up on the top of the boxcar, and I turned around and waved at him. I said, you the one got a problem, buddy, not me. I said, you the one with a problem. That's what I'm saying to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the train was gone. And sure enough, they never stopped. Never stopped nowhere. It passed through Gibson going 70 miles an hour. Never slowed down and nothing, man. But when it got to Shreveport, you see, at one time there were 3 switch tracks in Shreveport. I think they're still there. They're not used, but they were still there. 3 switches. And the speed limit anywhere, the speed limit for a train when they pass a switch line is 25 miles an hour. That's what it is. 25 miles an hour is faster than you think. That's like jumping off of a running horse.
Mm-hmm.
A horse normal run is about 25 miles an hour. That's like jumping off that horse. I said, well, here we go. When it got to Shreveport, I said, I got to get off. Because it ain't going to stop till it get to Avondale. And I don't feel like hitchhiking back. So I jumped off. Oh, what a jump. I hit the ground so hard, and I tumbled, wound up in some bushes. Right there where Solar Co. got their office there. Right there where Solar Co.'s shop is where I jumped off. Man. I found out then, buddy. It kind of knocked me out. Took me a little while to get my directions, and then I walked to Chacahoola. And when I got to Chacahoola, they had a fella that I used to go to school with many years before, and he had an old truck, And he said, get in. I'll take you. He said, I'll take you to Gibson. I said, okay. He brought me home. The fellow's name was Como. I don't remember his first name, but his last name was Como.
So when I was a kid, maybe before high school, I must have been 15. Me and my friends, we would go to the Schriever tracks right there.
Yeah.
My mom lives on 20.
Yeah.
And we would go, and sometimes the trains would link up somewhere around there. So they might come to a stop, link, and then go back the other way.
Yeah, yeah.
And they might go link something this way and then go back this way.
Yeah.
But we've been known to get on them and ride them around.
Yeah.
And we'd like to get on them, ride them down the back project, and then jump off. And then we would start making our way back. And if one comes this way, we'll come on.
Yeah.
And a couple of times we found a big chain of like flatbeds, just nothing.
Yeah.
And while they're still going slow, we would get on them. And once they start picking up speed, we would run across the flatbed and we would jump the gaps.
Yeah.
Kind of like a train treadmill.
Yeah.
And we did that. And a couple of times we had too much fun for too long, and it started to pick up speed, and we'd have to just jump off and roll.
Yeah.
So we wasn't going 25 like you were, but I've had that. I know what it feels like to jump off of a train.
Yeah, you jump off. Look, when you're on a freight train, you got to be careful about one thing. You never jump off the back end of a car. No kind of car. Like a box car. You never get, if the train is headed this way, you don't get on the back end of a boxcar to jump off or to jump on. No, you don't do that, especially to jump on. Jumping off is bad, but jumping on, you
What happens?
if you don't make it, you dead. That's what happens. If you don't hold on to that rail, when you jump off and you jump on the back end, you're going to swing around in the gap between the two cars, and that's all wheels down there.
Mm-hmm.
Those wheels are right there. You jump off right here, and those wheels are right there. You don't have to make but just a short. The ladder is right at the end of the boxcar.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you can't hold on and you fall off, your body is swinging, just like a gate, and you fall off right on the rail. It's over. It's over. You learn that just by watching.
I wonder if those boys remember throwing rocks at you today. I wonder if they think about it.
You know, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. They were having fun throwing rocks.
Oh, I bet. I bet they were.
They were having fun throwing rocks at me. I guarantee you that. And it was boys and girls. Man, look, they had a whole bunch of them walking to school.
So
throwing them rocks at.
Let's get into the military. You got your signature.
Yeah.
And then you went. Where'd you go next?
I went to Shepherd Field, Texas.
Had some training. That's where you did boot camp.
That's what boot camp was, Shepherd Field, Texas.
And after boot camp?
After boot camp, I went to tell you the truth, after boot camp, I went to Florida, but for just a little while, because then they shipped me from Florida to Washington State. Washington State, can you imagine it? And I went to school over there, and it was heavy equipment school,
mm-hmm.
big engines,
mm-hmm.
and big machinery that was used to build runways, drag lines, dozers, everything that was used to build runways. And I stayed there. Spokane, Washington. That's where I was. The name of the field was Geiger Field. Geiger Field in Spokane, Washington. I stayed there about 2.5 months, I guess, something like that. And then went back to Florida. And then it wasn't long. They sent me to Tucson, Arizona.
School?
Yeah. and it was all engine. Everything was diesel engine. They'd make us tear down a brand new engine. Oh, they had engines there. Several names of the day that get that done. You see, General Motors later on called their engine GM. General Motors, they called that engine GM. But in those days, it was Gray Marine. Gray, Grey, Marine.
Mm-hmm.
We had to tear the engine down. I mean, every boat. Tear it down. And then put it back up. And step by step by step by step. And then run it. Run the engine. It was on a stand. Radiator and everything. Crank it up. Make it run.
And after school, where'd you head?
I went back to Florida.
And this was your base. You were stationed.
That was my base, Florida, MacDill Field, Florida. And that is where it wasn't long after that I went to my first trip to the Arctic. My first trip to the Arctic was not the North Pole. The name of the place was Crystal 1. They had 3 crystals, 1, 2, and 3. And that was on what they called the Crimson Trail.
Okay.
Now, the Crimson Trail was for the airplanes that were built, warplanes, in the United States, went to Europe. And they'd have to cross Canada to get to Newfoundland. And then they would cross. Your dad, by the way, your grandpa was in India.
Mm-hmm.
He knew about those planes. Those planes would come through. They'd leave Newfoundland, and they would go to India, to a base in India, because the Germans wouldn't shoot them down there, or they wasn't there. And that's the route they took, Crimson Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 3 different places in 3 different places in Canada that was there to refuel, or if they had problems or whatever, they could get it done. They could land. They had a runway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why we went. I went to Crystal 1. Crystal 1 was right on the tree line. You see the Arctic in Canada and Alaska, the same thing. You got different things. You got trees. It starts off with trees, and a lot of them, all kinds, pine trees, spruce trees, all kind of trees, redwood, and everything else that people saw and used and used for lumber. But then there's another stage. Crystal 1 was at the stage where there was bushes, just bushes, no trees. No trees at all. It was just bushes about 3 or 4 feet high. 3 or 4 feet high, the mud. That was the maximum. And the ground was very soft. The ground was very spongy because it was permafrost. Mm-hmm. The ground used to freeze,
Mm-hmm.
And then when it would thaw out, it was spongy. And that's why that was my first trip to the Arctic, right? That wasn't the Arctic, but that was my first trip to the North. And the following year, I remember the company commander he called us all in line, how they do in the military, and said, look, he said, I need 10 volunteers. No, he said, I need 9. He said, because I know Sergeant Hebert wants to go. That's what he said. He said, I know that Sergeant Hebert wants to go. I know he's going to want to go. So I need 9 more volunteers to go to the Arctic. And he said, I'm talking about the Arctic. I'm not talking about no Mickey Mouse. This is Arctic. And it's extremely cold. You're going to be isolated. You're going to not be able to get mail nor send mail. You're not going to be able to listen to music. You are isolated completely and totally. If your mama and daddy die, you won't know it until you get back. Now, that's it. And I said, good, let's go, shit.
He said, sign me up.
Let's get going. And that's when I went. That's when I went to the Arctic. That was an experience, yeah.
What's your
The Arctic is the Arctic.
what's the most memorable times you had there?
Well, when I killed that polar bear, that was one that I remember well. They had a polar bear a huge polar bear. He was big, great, big thing. And he was in. Look, I want to say something. We were on Canadian land, okay? We were American troops on Canadian soil. We had no say-so. We had no guns.
Mm-hmm.
We had tools to build a runway.
Right.
No guns. But the Canadian Mountie, they had a Canadian Mountie that was there, and he was the boss. If he said you can, you can. If he said no, you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it was Canadian soil. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this bear was, and I got to know him real well. I got to know the guy very well. A nice guy. They had this, I saw this bear, and he was right there and he was right close to our camp, our area, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I went and I told him, I said, man, they got a polar bear sitting. I said, he's sitting down on the end of the lake right there. He said, what? Yeah, and he come outside and look, yeah. I said, I'd like to shoot that sucker. He said, well, he said, you can. He said, he's in an area
Mm-hmm.
where they got people that pass, you know?
Yeah.
American troops. So he gave me the rifle and a box of shells. Now, it was military bullets. It was not the kind of bullet. It was not the kind of bullets you use to go game hunting, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A military bullet, it's steel jacket. And it'll go through an oak tree and you can't even tell. The
Mm-hmm.
bullets don't change. It's very powerful gun, 30-06. He said, yeah, take this, one box of shells. He said, you think you can kill him with a box of shells? I said, I hope so. Anyway, I went out there and I shot at that sucker. I shot 3 times at him. I was about 400 yards away from him, at least. And the first time I shot, I saw where the bullet hit. I saw in the rocks, in the dirt, where the bullet hit. Right in line, perfect line with the bear, but too low. The second shot, boom. The bullet would hit further up. The bullet hit about 100 feet this side of the bear. And I said, I got you, boy. I got you now. The third shot, I shot, and I thought I'd hit that trucker. The bear was sitting down in the water, just like this. And he had his side and partly back, but his side was like this. I was over here. And he did. When I shot, and just a little bit, he took his hand and he was rubbing his head. I said, you know, I hit that bear. And sure enough, when I killed him, I saw where the bullet hit. Right in the back of his ear. Between his ear and his skull, the bullet just barely ripped the skin. That's how close I just about got that sucker the third shot. But then he got up. And he was upset. and then I kept shooting. And he got closer and closer. He come towards us. A polar bear is not afraid of nothing.
Oh, no. Don't need to be.
They're absolutely fearless. And I finally got him. I finally shot him. And he went down. But he was close. He was about 75 feet from me. He went down. And then after that, I put him away. with a bullet in its head. But that bear was huge, man. It was huge. I'm telling you, the Mountie told me, he said he weighed 800 pounds up. He said, well, I don't have a scale here to wear. He said, but I know he's bigger than a horse.
Mm-hmm.
His body was bigger than a horse, you know.
They're so big.
He was big, man. He was big. And that was something for me. But then they wouldn't let me take the hide because it was Canadian property. And
someone come get it? Or did the Mountie keep it?
Yeah, the Mountie kept it. Yeah, you better believe he kept it. He didn't want me to have it. And I had a dog I called Schemo. The dog was a husky that was given to me by the Mountie, a little bitty thing. And I fed him and took care of him. And me and the dog got to be good friends. I wanted to bring him home, man. No, you won't. Nope. Can't. He said the dog is going to stay right here. And sure enough, he did. But I didn't have no problem. I didn't have no problem. I really didn't. I know some people that was there that did have problems, you know. And they had problems that most of them, or just about all of them, were people that had a girlfriend or something, and they knew when they got back the girlfriend was going to be gone. And but anyway, some of them had a little trouble adjusting, you know.
Yeah. What was it like for you when you came back?
Oh, it was nothing, man.
Nothing.
I was when I came back. I got discharged on March 17th. And when I got back to the United States, it was in September. Or it might have been October. I'm not going to... It was either September or October. I think it was October because I remember the first snowfall. And I mean snowfall. I mean it snowed. Within September. And I remember thinking, damn, it's September. It's September in Florida. And it's snowing here. And I mean snowing. And the temperature was somewhere around 0, you know. The average temperature of the place where we were, the average temperature year-round was 3 degrees. That was the average. And it went down all the way to 60.
That hurts, huh?
Oh, yeah.
That's a different kind of
But
pain.
we had the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
We had clothes. Oh, we had clothes, man. Shit.
Now they send the military to cold weather training. They send them up to be trained on how to deal with the temperature.
Yeah.
Before they go.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the clothing was a must. You had to wear it,
Mm-hmm.
or you'd freeze to death. That's what you'd do. But it wasn't bad. You know, you get used to it.
So you got back in the States, and did you start looking for work immediately?
No, I got back in the States. I was still in the Army. And I was going to be for at least the next 4 or 5 months. With the winter months.
Mm-hmm.
And I was. And I was. Well, when I got back to the States, I got to go home.
You knew you were coming home?
Well, I got to go. They gave us a little furlough, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I went home, and there was no changes. There was not much work going on, especially for a young man like me with no, just coming out the Army. So I was debating whether I ought to sign up again and stay in the military another 3. Well, you couldn't re-enlist for 3. You had to re-enlist for at least 6 years.
Oh, wow.
So I said, God, dog, that's a long jump. So I was in a dilemma there. But I finally said, I'm going. I'm going to get out the military. I'm going, and I'll see what happens. And that's what I did. That's what I did.
And what kind of work did you find?
The first job I had after I got out of the military was driving a dump truck.
Here?
Yeah, in Morgan City.
All right, so you came back home.
Yes.
And did you think you wanted to stay home at this point?
No.
You just needed a job.
No, I wanted to go. I wanted to go. I didn't give a damn where, but I wanted to go. But I got a job driving a dump truck. I remember that well. A brand spanking new dump truck. And it belonged to a rice farmer, but he'd rent the truck out to contractors moving dirt, and that's when they were building some big buildings and warehouses in Morgan City, and that was for offshore drilling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there wasn't, I couldn't go offshore. They weren't going to take me. They wanted older people, But I worked there a good while, and then there was a contractor doing work there, putting up these buildings. And one day he walked up to me, he said, look, I'm going to offer you a damn job. It's better than driving that truck, and you're going to make a lot more money. He said, do you want it? He said, I need somebody. Now, I say, hey, if it make more money, yeah, I'll take it. So I took it, and I went to West. The company was Sam Corline. Sam Corline. That's the company name. And I worked for them a good while. I worked for Sam Corline about 3 years, at least 3 years. And in that time, I got married. And then I went to work for Texaco. No good. There was nothing at all about that job that I liked. Nothing at all. So I knew I wasn't going to stay. I'm going to stay because I got to right now, but eventually I'm gone. I quit. And that's when I went to work for Up City Contractors, oil field contractors.
And it was booming at this time.
Oh, it was booming, man.
Yeah.
7 days a week. 7 days a week. Work. Boat roads everywhere. Everywhere you'd look, you'd see a rig,
And what were you doing?
I was operating a dozer.
Okay.
I went to work there as a dozer operator and or crane, do crane work.
Mm-hmm.
Not dragline, but crane work. And I stayed there. I worked there for a good while, but I could see a need for trucks to move the lumber, the boat roads, And the contractor had some old raggedy trucks out there that wasn't no good, and they never had a good driver on none of them. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go into the trucking business. So I bought a truck. I bought a Ford F600 with a 35-foot through-off float. Now, you ain't talking about much, I'm telling you. The truck and the trailer, the chains and the binders was under $10,000. Under $10,000. And in 6 months, it was paid for. I paid for it in 6 months.
You had the money to buy it?
No. Well, I had some. Very little. But I had years. I went to the Ford. I knew Drexler very well. I knew a fellow by the name of Toops that was the salesman. And I talked to him for a month before he finally decided. I said, Toops, look, I know I can pay for the damn truck. I ain't got no money now, but I know that I'll get to work. The work is there. I don't have to look for it. I know where it's at. And if I got a truck, I'm going to pay for it quick, real quick. He finally took me. Through Horse Trailer Company, I told him the same thing. At first, they gave me an old trailer, but it was all right. But it wasn't new. It wasn't good. It wasn't very good either. And I finally talked him into giving me a new one. I had a little money. I gave him a little money. And I said, look, I can't pay you now, but I will. I'm going to pay you every damn dime that I get, that you will get paid. So I paid for the truck. I'm trying to think of that guy, Fruhoff Trailer Company. Boy, he was worried. He said, do you know what they're going to do to me? They're going to fire me because of you. But you're going to be to blame. I'm going to get fired because they want their money. And every time I say money to you, you turn your back on me. You ain't got no money. Nope. Not there, but I will. And I said, by the way, the last payment, I'm going to bring it to you myself. I'm not going to put it in the mail. I'm going to bring it to you. He said, all he did was laugh and shook his head. And I did just that. The last payment, I went and brought the money. I'm trying to think of his name. I knew his name so well, but it's starting to fade. And I said, this is what I owe you. This is what I owe you for that trailer you gave me so much hell about. I said, you paid. I said, and if you want a little interest, I can give you that too. I said, but let me tell you something. I need another trailer.
I saw that coming.
I said, I need another trailer bad. I said, because I got to work. I know I got to work. He said, well, go ahead out there and pick whatever you want. Whatever you want, that's yours. And that's the way it went right there. Fruhoff Trailer Company. And that's how I got started in the trucking business.
So you started your own business, and you were doing the driving.
Oh yeah,
and you would go and make the sales.
Oh yeah, at first I was doing the driving. Oh yeah.
All right, and then what resulted in that? What was next? Did that business do well?
Oh yeah. Look, you could make money.
Mm.
You could make money now. Yeah, look. Well, you had to work, and I was there, and I knew the work. I knew it well, and I wanted to do it. So they had another guy that was doing more or less the same thing I was doing, and he had family problems. I guess you know what that is. And he was also a drunk. He drank a lot, and I knew he wasn't going to make it. And one day he came by, he had three rigs. And one day he come by me and he said, look, he said, I'll quit. I'm gone. I'm going out of business. And he said, I want to tell you something. He said, you need those 3 trucks, okay? He said, you need them bad. He said, because if I sell them to somebody else, they're going to run you off. They're going to run you off. They're going to put pressure on you and run you off. I said, you know what? You're probably right. So I went to the company that I was moving lumber for a lot, Hub City Contractors. And I told them the problem, and they said, okay, that's good. So they bought him out. And I took his place in moving whatever he was doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from 1 truck, I went to 4. No good. I didn't like it. I much rather it when I had 1 and drive it myself. But that's not the way it worked out. Mm-hmm. And there I was 4 trucks that I had to keep track of.
And you had to hire people. You had to hire out.
Hire people and put up with things, and it was a mess. And then things got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they got work. I needed a low boy. Got a great big rig. I mean, a big rig. A low boy moved big drag lines and big dozers. Well, I had 1 big one, and then I had 1 medium-sized one. And there were problems. There were just problems all the time. But that was life. That was the trucking business. And I did that, and I liked it. I work all the time, a lot of work, lots of work. And I kept it a long time.
I know from reading the book and from hearing some stories that you're a creative type, and you've come up with some of your own ideas. and you have a couple inventions and a couple patents on maybe some parts or equipment. I don't know what the parts are, or I don't know what the things are. Can you explain maybe the first thing that you created or invented or you put a patent on?
The very first thing that I worked on and got a patent on was a board denailer. Board road, the board road, oil wheel type board road, was nailed down with 50 penny nails. And a 16-foot board, they had 5 nails, 1 on each end and 3 in the middle.
Yeah.
It rolling up. But anyway, the first thing was that board road, a board denailer. And that's one thing they used quite a bit. The next thing was a board. It was a machine designed to help. You gotta know what goes on when they lay lumber. You see, when they lay lumber, they got a winch truck that picks up a bundle of lumber, 50 planks, 50 boards. They go and they put it down, and then the people that are laying the lumber got to walk back and forth from the bundle to where they're laying the lumber. In other words, you got to walk back and forth for every board, okay? Takes a lot of time. When this machine was built, you put the lumber on the machine, and the machine would move. They had 3 bundles. You could put 3 bundles of lumber on the machine. All hydraulic. Everything was hydraulic. And the machine would move as you needed the lumber. If you were laying lumber on the board road, as the machine would move, as the board road would lie, as you laid the lumber, you moved the machine a little closer. You never had to walk.
Mm-hmm.
You just dumped the board off,
Yeah.
And that was a machine they used.
This is something you needed for you, so you created it for you to use? Or you just saw, you had a vision of...
Yeah. That was something that was highly visible. Remember, there are certain... The board road, you got to stop and think of this. You're handling boards that got big nails in them. And the best you could do, the property owners, at one time, they used to have some clippers and they cut the nail off. The property owners didn't want that. They didn't want them damn nails on their property. Some of them were farmers and their tractor pick up a nail and ruin a tire, So they had to quit cutting them off. So they'd bend the nails. But the nail was still in the board. They had different length boards. Do you know what kind of nightmare or what kind of machine you're talking about to handle all the problems that go along with putting that board down and or taking it up? There are so many you just can't get to. Because the machine would have to be too big.
Mm-hmm.
The machine would have to be monster to go through the process of doing all that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you do what needs to be done the most and try to put that together to do the biggest part of the lifting, you might say, And that's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do that, you'd have to build a machine 75 feet long or maybe longer, 12 feet high, with all kind of unbelievable contraptions on it to handle everything.
Mm-hmm.
It costs too much money. The machine would cost too much money. So you do what you could only go so far, okay? You can only go so far to settle the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Only. And that's what I did. And they used that machine a whole lot.
So that concept is still what they use today?
Oh, no. Today they got plastic. Today they use match. They don't use lumber at all. I say they don't use lumber. I mean, don't use lumber. They use a small amount of lumber.
Mm-hmm.
A very small amount. But the majority of location site on a board road is match, plastic match.
Mm.
And they work well.
Is that the ones that they roll up?
No, you don't roll.
They don't roll?
No.
They just set them out?
That's right. It's 8 feet wide, 16 feet long. And a machine, they use an excavator to put them in place, you know.
Okay.
And they work well. They work real well. There's no more boards on board roads.
Mm-hmm.
No more. That's not used. It's just not. Got away completely from the boards.
What was the process like getting a patent on an idea you had?
Well, the first one was I was null and void. I didn't know. So I got a lawyer, a patent lawyer from Washington, D.C. His family was from Donaldsonville. His family was cane farmers in Donaldsonville. And I never will forget that guy. His name was Thibodaux, Robert Thibodaux. I mean, a good guy, very good guy, but he could drink. Ooh, that guy could drink. Yeah, he drank a lot, you know. But he knew patents. There was nothing he didn't know. He worked for John Deere, and he worked for Kane Machinery. I'm sure what the hell that guy's name that owned Kane Machinery before John Deere showed up?
Chemical?
Yeah.
Jake Giordina,
yeah. You know Jake Giordina?
My mom worked for him for years.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, at Chemical before John Deere.
Yes, all right, yeah. Well, Jake Giordina, he worked for this patent lawyer, worked for Jake Giordina and Kane Machinery. And he worked for several companies in the area, including John Deere. Not here, but elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew everything about patents. But from then on, it was not no problem. It took time to get a patent. Well, in those days, I don't know now.
You could probably do it on your phone now.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I'm saying that's how far we've come. I bet you could do the whole thing on a cell phone.
Or on that thing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But it took about 2 years to get from day one to where the patent was actually issued.
Mm-hmm.
2 years.
Did you get the patent with the intention of selling the patent? Or you just wanted to have it?
I saw the company that used this stuff paid me pretty well. They paid me pretty well, but it was a yearly thing.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the year, they paid me pretty good.
But you sold them the patent, or they just wanted to? They're paying you to use
they were paying me for the use. For the use of it. Once a year, and it was all right.
It was just one company that did that?
No.
Couple of them.
And then there was the jackknife device. Now that was not the first. That was the jackknife device was 10 years later.
This was trucking?
Huh?
This was a tool for trucking? Or?
Yeah.
And what did it do?
To stop trucks from jackknifing.
And how?
And this, well, by air brakes, it was a cylinder. It was a round. Now look, you're asking me to explain something that's not that easy. It was a device that I'm gonna say this.
It uses air to cushion this.
No. No. The only part that air played was the brake.
The actual trailer brake.
Well, the truck or trailer, truck or trailer.
Mm-hmm.
If you put it there, you see an 18-wheeler, you got a pedal, just like in any other truck,
Mm-hmm.
for the truck and the trailer. But the trailer got a hand lever that you put the brakes on, just the trailer.
Yeah. Okay.
Just the trailer. And it's got to work off of either one, from either one,
Mm-hmm.
the truck or the trailer. Brakes. Now, but the air is the only thing that was used. The air was used for the brake on the device. The device was controlled by a spring, a clock spring. I had to get made. I made the device, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I made it to use the spring, but I didn't have the spring. I had to get the spring made. And do you know I caught hell? I tried all major spring makers that I could get a name of. I'd call them and talk to them. No, we don't do that. We don't do that. Well, one day I got the name of a company in Fort Worth, Texas, of a company that made springs. And I called them and they said, well, what you're asking us to do costs a lot of money. I said, well, how much? He said, well, you tell me the story and I'll tell you how much. So I told him, I said, I'm working on a device that I need this spring. And it's a strong spring. The spring was 1.5 inches wide, 3/16 of an inch thick, and it could open 30 feet. They had enough coils that it would go 30 feet and then pull back. Yeah, we can make it. Yeah, the engineers here can make that spring.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to take some engineering, and then we got to get the material, and then we got to make it. I said, how much? Now, this was at a time when $1 was $1, okay? And he talked, I said, I need to know. I said, because, I said, I don't want to mortgage the house there. $1,400. That was a lot of money. I said, okay. He made the spring. And in about 3 weeks, I had to draw them, and I'm not an artist, but I had to draw them exactly what I was talking about. Make sure that the engineers get it right. I wanted an eye. While the spring was going to be fastened on each end, I wanted a teardrop, what they call a teardrop, Yeah, we can make that. And they made it. And when the spring got in, I looked at it. I said, that's just what I asked for. And I put it on, and it fit just right. Yeah, it fit just right. And that was the jackknife device there. Now that, if I would have gotten much money for all the patents I had as I did with the jackknife, I'd be like Jake Giordino. I'd have a lot of money there. Because I got well paid. I did get well paid for that, yeah.
And it's a device. It's mounted to the trailer. Trying to understand.
But the device was on the trailer. You could.
It's something you could put on. Anyone could buy it for their truck and trailer.
Oh yeah. In any kind of trailer,
right.
Yeah.
And it works in this way. Once you back up and you start getting close to jackknifing, it breaks it stops.
A jackknife is there's a kingpin. The trailer got a kingpin. It's a pin. It's about 3 inches in diameter. Well, it's not 3 inches in diameter. It's less than that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very strong. It's malleable steel. And it fits on the fifth wheel. The trailer fifth wheel is about this wide. Fits on there, and they got a lock that locks the fifth wheel to that pin. And when you put the brakes on the tractor, remember the weight shift forward. A lot of tractor trailers don't have front wheel brakes. The front wheels don't have brakes. Some got brakes that you can put on or off. You hit a switch, and it'll stop the air from going to the front brake.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot of different things. But when you put the brakes on the tractor, the weight shift forward, which makes that pin, which makes the trailer want to bend. The trailer is pushing. And when the trailer got a load on it, it's heavy. And it's pushing that rig. And a lot of times the rig will just want to go out of control. And that's what they call a jackknife. And a jackknife is not funny. Oh, it ain't funny. All hell breaks loose when you get one. Now, this would stop that. And I know it would stop it. There is no question at all that the jackknife device would stop a jackknife. You would not have a jackknife. But because you couldn't, the cable would hold it. Now, I want to say this. If you wait, the device got to stop the jackknife before it starts. Because a jackknife, once it gets so far out of line, you ain't going to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing will stop it. Nothing. You can put a cable big as your leg, and it's going to break something. Because the weight is tremendous, you know. You got to keep it from getting to that position. The jackknife device got to keep the truck and trailer in line. And when it's straight, it don't take much. It don't take much to keep it straight.
Mm-hmm.
It's after it turns, it's too late. After the tractor trailer goes sideways, it's over. That was a good one. That was when they gave me a lot of money for it.
And that's one that you sold.
Yeah, I sold to a company in New Jersey.
Have you seen them on trucks?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was that cool to go see?
Yeah.
Was it cool to go see them on a truck for the first time?
Was it what?
Was it cool to see what you invented on a truck, to go look at it and see people buying it?
Oh, yeah. There were companies in New Jersey There were companies in New Jersey that did have it, and there were companies in Canada too that had it because of the cold weather, you know, snow and freezing roads, and they had a patent. I had a patent in France, England.
7 countries.
I had a patent in more than 3 countries in Europe.
You have to create a new one in each country?
Yeah. You have to have a patent in each country. And in the United States, a patent lasts 17 years. In some countries, it lasts longer than that, but there was a fee attached to it. You had to pay a fee to keep the patent active, okay? Mm-hmm. Some countries. And you had to do that. So every country's got it's different, you know, it's different.
Did you ever sell any in the other countries?
I remember them telling me they did, but I didn't see that because that was in New Jersey and I'm in Treva. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it with my own eyes, them loading them up or shipping them, you know. But they told me that in Italy, I got a letter one time from the Transportation Department of England, and you should have seen that letter, man. Oh, they talk about the Queen's country, the Queen's this, the Queen. It was all English, you know, and they were interested. And of course, the thing I told them was the only thing I could say. Look, I sold that. I don't own it. You got to get in touch with the people that own it, you know? Mm-hmm. And I know they did, but I don't know what happened. Mm-hmm. You know, I know they did get a hold of it, but I don't know for sure what happened. No, I don't. But I couldn't say anything. I didn't own it, you know? After you sell it, you know?
So the inventions and those pieces of equipment, they showcase your creativity, but a few years ago, you wrote a book. You started writing a book. What year did you start? Let's do this. What year did you say, I'm going to write a book? And then what year did you start writing the book?
Well, I started the year with 91. I was 91 years old. Well, you go back 6 years, that'll give you the year. I was 91. And I said to myself, I even said to myself, I said, you don't have much business doing this. Yeah. To start with, you don't have no education. To start with, you don't have this, you don't have that. You read a lot of books, but reading a book that somebody else wrote is not like the same as you writing it. But I didn't have nothing to do. I'm sitting there, man, I said, God dang, I got to do something. Physically and mentally. Physically and mentally, I could do it. Okay. And just like those patents, whenever I did anything, those patents, I think I got 10 or 11 patents of different things, power driver stuff. I'm even forgetting some of them.
You remember you remember the last time you forgot about one of the patents you invented?
No, but I have. I'm sitting here. I know that I got 10 or 11 patents. But they're starting to skip my...
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I think about every day.
Yeah.
The book was a master thing for me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Not that it would be for an author. No, hell, they write a book every year, or some of them, 2 or 3 of them, Here I am, I know how to read a book, but writing a book is something else. So I bought pencil and paper. I bought a lot of paper and a lot of pencil, and I wrote it longhand. And took me a good while to get started. But once I got started, you'd be surprised.
Where'd you do it? Where'd you sit? The first time you grabbed a piece of paper, you grabbed a notebook? Did you go buy a notebook you said, this is my book?
Yeah. Notebooks and paper like you got that.
And where'd you go sit?
What did I do?
Where'd you sit?
In my living room.
Just sat on a chair?
At the counter.
And you said, all right, I'm starting my book.
That's right.
And then what you wrote?
I started writing.
So what we see in the first page, that's where you started? Or you had to mix things up after it was said and done?
Oh, yeah. Some of it I threw away. Look, the book, when you write a book that about a lifetime, you can't put the heart before the cart. You start with A, B, C, D, you put things where they go,
Mm-hmm.
and you can make a mistake just like that. You got to think about that. And then you got to go, this is a long time ago. This wasn't yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
This was when I started that book. I was 5 years old. It's a long time. And then I gradually, as the book progressed, I was going to the next stage. And I had to be very careful. And people ask me, Hebert, why did you put the crow in there? I said, that's very simple. I needed a character in the book. The crow is a character in the book. I didn't want the book to be a I, me. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to be careful about that. I, me, I put the crow in there as a character, and it needed to be there. It needed it. It needed to be there. And I also knew a lot about crows. Yeah, I knew a lot about them. Because when I was little and When I was shooting birds in the right field, I knew about them too.
It's funny because you don't know.
That's his inventions.
You don't know what it. You don't know what
That's
an
something to
outside
think of.
reader sees when they read the book, right? You only know what you meant and the way you wrote it. So when
Yeah.
I read it, I get to take the crow, and I can come up with whatever reason I have for why you got what the crow's all about, or maybe I'm going to learn at the end what the crow is, or
The crow in the book is a character to do just exactly what I did with him. He was a mentor to me in the book. He was a sort of a mentor to me in the book.
mm-hmm.
And he was an aggravation. That's what I was to him. He was an aggravation to me. Okay, that's, if you look at it, mentor aggravation. That's what he was. And that's exactly what he was.
When did you get the idea of the crow? Right at the beginning?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Because I knew I needed a character in there. And I didn't want to put a person or a fictitious person. I didn't want that. The crow fit just right to me. And that's why the crow is there. And a lot of people actually, they tell me, they said, you make the crow famous. I said, well, that's good. That's good. At least I accomplished something.
It's super interesting what that did for someone that reads it, you know? It seems like you knew exactly how it would make a reader feel when they read it, but you didn't know that.
No.
It was like a perfect accident.
Yeah. Look.
It's cool because it's like, it's artistic. It's very artistic. If you would have meant to do it.
Yeah.
But you didn't mean to do it.
No. I just had to have that. I had to have that character. That's all there's to it. It had to be. And look, I don't know. I have read some books. I read one book in particular. I don't remember the name, but it was about authors, all about authors. And they were in Miami, Florida. That's what they were. For some reason, they had grouped up like a little convention in Miami, Florida. And then they went to talking about the problems in the authors had. The money was always a big deal. And every one of them said, look, I wrote this book, and when the book was released, I made pretty good money. But 3 or 4 months later, I wasn't making none. It didn't last very long.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what? That makes sense. Because the people that want the book got them right off the bat. And then after that, it was, give and take here and there, But it was all about authors and their way of writing and their way of making a living. That their living was not guaranteed. No. Their living was not guaranteed. They didn't know how that book was going to affect the people that was going to buy it. And for them, they had to sell it. Mm-hmm. It had to be sold, And John Griffin, I believe you mentioned him a while ago. That one of the books John Griffin wrote. Now, John Griffin is a good writer. There's no question about that. But he wrote a book, and the book was no good, man. I mean, no good at all. And I'm saying to myself, I'd look at the title, I said, this is John Grisham. He wrote this book. But the more I'd read, I said, this book is no good. It don't have nothing. It don't have nothing. And then my son read it, and he didn't like it. And he looked at what the book was rated at on his computer, and it was rated as a 3. 3 out of 10. Now look, when you're an author and your book is rated a 3, you better go find yourself another job. But John Griffin wrote a 3 book, and he was good, buddy. Oh, look. John Griffin wrote the book, The Lincoln Lawyer. The Lincoln Lawyer. And they made a movie out of it. They made a bunch of it. Yeah. It's just to write a book. Look, I spent a lot of time writing that damn book. Yeah. Yeah.
How much time?
A year.
How many hours a day?
Oh, sometimes 5, 6 hours until my eyes they just get tired, And sometimes I'd get upset and I'd throw it away. Boom. Throw the damn paper in the garbage can. Start again. And then I talked to a publisher and I talked to a publisher in Dallasonville. I met a guy from Thibodaux one day at it was at Waffle House. It was at the Waffle House. He was eating breakfast, and I saw he was reading a book that I had just finished, a paperback that he was, and I said, "You like that book?" Yeah, he said, "Pretty good." And we went to talking, and I said, I'm trying to write a damn book. And I said, I got me a whole gang of problems. And I said, I don't know too much how to settle some of them. He said, I know somebody who can help you. And he gave me a phone number. Call that number. And I did. And it was a publisher in Donaldsonville, a woman. I said, God dang, look at you. So I went and see her. And I brought my script, my transcript with me. And she looked at it and read. She said, look, don't stop. Finish it. Finish it because what you got here is better than you think. Finish it. I said, but she said, finish it. I'm telling you, finish it. I said to myself, yeah, but you just don't understand that. I'm about to blow my brains out over the damn thing. and you finish it. But anyway, I said, all right. She said, what you have is a better, she said, you can write better than you think. They told me that. Not much. But anyway, I kept going. Then I got disgusted. I said, to hell with it. And I called her up. She had my transcript. She said, well, what do you want me to do with this transcript? She said, I got it. What do you want me to do? I said, burn it. Hell, throw it away. Throw it in the garbage can. Do anything. I said, I quit. Nah. She said, is it okay for me to email this transcript to some authors I know in the New Orleans area? I said, well, yeah, go ahead. And that's when that lady from Mandeville, she's an author and an editor, edit books. And she got it. And that's when she called me. And she told me that, man, you got to finish. You got to finish because this is a good book. I said, what? What she say? She said, yes, it's good. You got some good stuff here. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell? What's so good about it? And she said, you know what she told me? She said, I wish I could write that good. I said, what? That's the way, now that is the way the book went right there. And so I finished it and she read it and oh boy, she said, this is a good book. This is a good book.
Now you wrote it pen and paper and then you had someone type it up for you?
Yes. My son's wife typed it. She typed
Was she like the original editor? Did she edit it, added the grammar and everything?
No, she didn't do no editing.
Wrote it just how you wrote
All she did was type what I wrote. And that's where the fun comes.
it. Not from me.
The editor told me, she said, look, she said,
This is going to cost you a lot.
I'm going to take this book and I'm going to edit this book and I'm going to put everything in this book in order the way that an artist, a real author would do. I'm going to rewrite it the way authors do it. I said, no, you won't. She said, what? I said, that's right. I said, I don't want you or anybody else to rewrite my book. I'm the one spent all the damn time writing that thing. I want it word for word, just exactly the way it is. I said, the only thing I want you to do is correct my spelling, put the exclamation marks and all where they need to be in the English language, and put the periods and the commas and all of that. But you change no word. Don't change one word at all. Just like it is. Oh, she said, that's not doing all. She said, that's authors don't do that. I said, I do. Do it. Now, that's what she done. That's exactly what she did. She said, this is your business, and this is your time, and this is your book. She said, that's what I'm going to do. And that's the way the book ended right there. She edited that way. And then, look, you got to get a cover. You got to get what you call they got several things you got to get.
Mm-hmm.
They got a number that you got to get, and a what the hell they call that? Everything you buy got on a box.
Yeah, the serial number.
Yeah, you got to get all that. And I said, well, okay. She helped me get it. She helped me get it all. And that was it. The book come out.
You read it after it was when she got the hard print in your hand. You read it again?
Oh, yeah, I read it. Oh, that book? Oh, I read that book about 6 times. And that's the truth. I'm reading now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading now a little bit every day. A little bit every day.
Do you read it to remember?
I read it. No, I remember the book well. I remember the book well.
Do you critique yourself as you're reading it?
Yes. That's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paying attention to what I did that I would do different, that I would do a little different, you know.
Mm-hmm. And now a lot of authors do that. The 2 months after the book comes out, they make a new edition. You know, they fix a couple things or they add something that they thought was important.
Yes. I read it and I see where I could have done better. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it's too late. The book is out now. But yeah, I do that. I do that. But that was the book right there. That's for somebody who just do it like the way I do it. It's a monster thing, man.
It was hard.
It's a monster thing.
Are you glad you did it?
It's a monstrous thing. You know, it's...
So you started when you were 91. Do you wish you would have done it in your 60s, 70s, or are you glad and you needed it for this time to have...
I'm glad I waited.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you know, there is a thing about getting older, okay, that you have to admit,
mm-hmm. and
you have to change. I don't believe when I was 50 or 60 years old, I couldn't have wrote that book. No. I couldn't have wrote it. I really couldn't have. I didn't have there was something missing. And I know that when I was 50 or 60 years old, there was something missing that didn't fit. Though it worked out for me that I'm glad I was 91 every day.
Do you think other people should do the same if they ever thought about it? They had the idea, like, man, I should write these stories down.
You know what I believe? It depends on the book. It depends on the book. You see that little old book I wrote goes back to where you got to remember, you know. You got to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something you got to... I even took a trip to Gifton and went and read tombstones to get the right date, to make sure that the editor wanted to know certain things about certain people. I said, what you want to know that for? Well, she said, in my type of work, I need to know everything. Okay. I go to the graveyard and get names and dates of when they died and how old they were and all that stuff. And that woman called me yesterday. Yesterday was my birthday. When I got home yesterday from going eating, I wasn't home 10 minutes. The phone rang. I go up there and it's her, that editor. And she told me, well, she said, how's your birthday? I said, oh, hell. I said, I just come from eating now. I'm full. And we talked an hour. We talked at least an hour. And yeah, she's a very educated woman. Very. I mean, very educated. God. That woman.
She sounds smart.
She know the English language like you wouldn't believe. Now, you might not think so, but the English language to her is a Bible. I mean, if it ain't right, it ain't right. You know, it got to be right. And in that book, she wanted it that way. You got to be right, and she know. Oh, she know. And she keep telling me, did you start your other book yet? She said, you ought to write another book because there's nobody in the world that can write another book that would be like yours.
Sure.
She said, I know.
Yeah.
I edited your first one. She said, I never seen nothing like it. But she said, I'm jealous because I didn't write it, you know? She said, I really like that book. I really do.
That's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
Did you talk about your perpetual motion device much in the book?
Yeah, a couple of times.
A little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
What else is there to know about it? When did you start with that idea, and how far did you get with it?
Perpetual motion is something that I thought about all of my life. All of my life.
Why?
Because it's very interesting.
Someone, you'd heard it from someone?
No. I just say to myself, there is no reason why perpetual motion, as of right now, nobody has done it. And there's about 10 million people in the world doing it. At least 10 million people that are working on perpetual motion. Some of them are universities,
mm-hmm.
and they have contests between two universities as to who gained a little bit,
mm-hmm.
you know. That's very interesting, man. You talk about interesting. It's something that it'll dig into your mind. It's nonstop. There is no way. Look, I'm going to say, I had a wheel that was 30 inches in diameter, 30 inches. And I went through the process of making sure, step by step, when I made that wheel out of 4 sheets of plywood, 4 sheets that I cut in a circle, 30 inches in diameter. But I made sure that the outside edge wasn't even. You know, the outside shell, like you see the top of this cup here, is perfectly even.
Okay.
That's not good at all.
Okay.
For friction. Friction, if you were to mechanically take this and turn it, because of this smooth finish with no deviations at all with no bumps. You know a golf ball? Look at a golf ball.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that it's not smooth. You know
Mhm.
why? That's because of friction. Exactly what I'm telling you right now. Friction. Those little dips, those little bitty dips in the in the golf ball
Mm-hmm.
creates the friction. It disrupts the friction, okay? And that's what you got to do. So you start right off the bat making every effort to eliminate friction, okay? And to eliminate friction, it can't be smooth. Smooth grab friction. It grabs it, and it don't let it go. If you got a dip in this cup, when the friction get to that dip, it dissipates and got to start again. But when in that little time that it dissipates, it's got to start again. You frictionless. That's perpetual motion. You don't want no friction of any kind anywhere. So you got to start from the very beginning. And then you got the center of the wheel. You look at it from the wheel is facing this way, and you look at it. This is the upside. This is the downside. You turn into the left. Whatever you put on the right side, you got to pick up. You got to lift. There will come a time in the rotation of that wheel that if it's past the center line, you're going to have to pick up. How do you get around that? To make anything turn, a perfectly balanced wheel is useless unless you put it on an engine where it turns high RPM.
Mm-hmm.
Then you want perfect balance. For perpetual motion, a perfectly balanced wheel is just dead weight. It's got to be offset some kind of way. Now, do you know how many different directions? Do you know how many different positions you got in a 32-inch wheel? They got 1 million and above. Because you got the distance from the center, you got the distance from the top to the bottom, from the center to the right or to the left. All in there, a quarter of an inch means plenty.
Mm-hmm.
Means plenty. So, you know how long it would take you to go through all of them? A lifetime. A lifetime of paying attention to every single move you make, even if it's no more than the width of that pencil mark. In fact, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Or could be. In the wrong place. The right place would be good. That's why perpetual motion gets so difficult. And perpetual motion, you don't measure your 30 inches in diameter means the circumference is 3 times that plus of the slight amount. So you don't use that because it's got, what did I mean? What did I say a while ago? Variable. Variable.
Mm-hmm.
Now let me tell you why you don't have a variable. At 30 inches in diameter, you measure how far the wheel would roll on a flat surface. On a flat surface, you take the wheel, you make very fine little scratches where don't affect the wheel at all, and you make a start to something that don't move, that's solid, that will be in the same place. And then you roll the wheel. And you measure the distance that the wheel travels from here to here. Not the circumference. I mean, not what the circumference tell you, but what the travel tell you.
Mm-hmm.
That the wheel traveled. That's the exact way to do it. There's so many things you got to remember, so many things you got to do, and you got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect.
This is something you messed with your entire career?
My entire life.
You had it in the shed and you would come home and tinker with it?
No, I didn't have it physically. Physically, I had it for about the last 10 years in my garage.
Mm-hmm.
But all before that was here, thinking, every step. And they got a lot. A lot of people that work on perpetual motion work with a wheel. They work with a wheel because they want it to turn. They want it to move. They want it to turn. And just stop and think of all the places on that wheel that would make a difference if you took weight away or if you added a little bit.
Right.
It's amazing. It's a high number. A high number. And from the center to the left, the center to the right, the top to the bottom. Oh, God help you.
What's the longest you got it to run?
Huh?
What's the longest you got yours to run?
I was within less than 2 inches of making that circle. Now remember, if it makes one, it'll make 1,000,000. It's perpetual motion. It'll continue. All it's got to do is one circle, one complete circle plus. Plus, it's got to be a plus, because without a plus, you stay where you are. You got to be perpetual motion. I'm going. If it makes it one circle, you got it. Just that simple.
And you came close.
Huh?
And you came close.
Well, yes, I came close. I came close, but you see that little bit of space that I needed to make? That's 1,000,000 miles. That is when you really get down. It's a mile. It's out of this world. Because you remember what it took to get there.
And where are you at now with the project?
I give it up. I moved it out of the garage. It's gone.
Did it make you mad?
No.
Just one day you had enough.
Because now I get up and I wake up at night sometime, and the gears start turning, and I think about it, and I think about what I did, what I could have done, and I know that I don't have time. Okay, it takes time to cover what you may have to cover, unless you're very lucky. You could be lucky and hit it the first day, or it might be 50 years to get to that one spot. And until you do, you ain't got it. You don't have it. That's it. And I am, look, mathematicians like Beau there, most of them will tell you, no, you can't do it. Because to start with, perpetual motion would break all the rules, right?
The laws of thermodynamics.
Yeah, it would break all the rules that the universe work on. All of them.
Mm-hmm. And there's people who can create a program and they put in calculations, and you could tell them what measurements you want, and they hit run, and it'll say yes it works, or no it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But you have to sit there and tinker with it.
Oh,
you have to change it.
Oh yeah.
And it's fun, and you like it.
Perpetual motion. There's no directions in a book.
Right.
There's no directions written anywhere that you can, that you can do it. Some people say that there's a lot of directions that are known by man that you can't do it. Einstein, you know what Einstein said? He said, that is not my field. That is not what I work on. I work on space. That space is my field. Perpetual motion may one day get done, but it's going to be very difficult. Very difficult. That's what Einstein said. Einstein is not a mathematician, is he?
He was kind of smart.
Huh?
I heard he was pretty smart.
But he is a mathematician. He said, it's going to be very difficult. And I said to myself, yeah, you're sure right about that. It's very, very, very difficult. But there are lots of people working on it. Oh, believe me, a lot of people all over the world.
So you've had throughout your life some success in business, or I'd say a lot of success in business. You invented a bunch of things. You have a bunch of patents. You wrote a book at 90 plus years old. What of those things or of other things are you most proud of?
I'm going to tell you the truth about it. You know the word proud? I think I know what it means. I never felt like, I never got that feeling, you know. I never feel like I did anything that pretty much anybody else couldn't do if they would have tried. You know, if you would have tried. That's exactly what I tell people today. They got a man that I know real well right now, very highly educated. I mean, this guy got education. He went to school till he was 30 years old. Very educated. And he liked to, he wrote short stories. He showed that to an author, and the author told him, throw it away. You got no style at all. And it hurt his feeling, man. He told me I got no style. I didn't want to say nothing, but I said to myself, yeah, she's right. You know, because I read some of them. I said, you got no style at all. I don't have no feelings like about being proud of it, you know. You know what I feel like? I could have done a better job.
Is it a feeling like because you were always kind of chasing the next thing, you're always looking forward to the next?
Oh, yes.
So you were kind of like a perpetual motion device.
Well, yeah, it makes you go. It makes you go. And that was, look, if you can ride I'm going to say this. If you can ride a freight train, or not one, no, many freight trains, get on, get off, get chased by a switchyard watchman with a damn club want to knock the hell out of you. You got to be hungry all the time, be thirsty, don't know where you're at. If you can do that for 2 years, all the rest is null and void. I'm telling you. Picture yourself right now. You put that pencil down, put that thing off your head, and you close this building up and say, hell with it, I'm gone. You go to Shreva and you jump on a freight train. That's hobo. That's what the hobo do right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you keep going. You just keep going. You got to push it. Something is pushing you. You got a desire to go. Today, I hear a freight train whistle blow.
You want to get on it.
I put my head down just like if I'm driving my car and I pass by the railroad track where they got train, I can't take my eyes off. I love it. I just love it. There's nothing I can do. Oh, it's over. I'll never do it again. But I can tell you one thing. I sure liked it. I sure liked it. And you would not believe the education involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
You on your own. You got nobody dictating nothing to you. You look at a bird flying, you say, you don't have nothing on me, fella. I can't fly, but I'm doing the next best thing. That's what I'm doing. And it's a feeling. There you get a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You're you. Nobody else. And it's a good feeling.
A lot of people don't have that. They don't have anything that they've experienced like that.
Well, they missed the boat. They missed the boat. It's a feeling that you have of I wonder what I'm going to find.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I'm going to find. I wonder this. I wonder that. Because you don't know. You just don't know, you know.
Maybe it's because it's too easy to know everything these days because we have the computer and we can look up whatever. Before we go on vacation, I catch myself doing this. Before I go travel somewhere, I want to see it before I get there, but that's probably not the best idea.
Let me tell you, the best trips I ever took in my life in a car, I didn't have no destination. I don't want no destination. What the hell I want a destination for? Now, some people say you got to be crazy. You got to know where you're going. I said, why? Why do I have to know where I'm going? I'm riding. I'm looking around. I'm looking. I'm not. The destination don't mean that to me. The destination is not something that I think a lot of. I don't think about it.
It's kind of like a rule, right? It's like putting another rule on yourself.
Well, you're right. Yeah, that's more or less. You're right. You're right. Look, I can't very easily say. You see, all the other things were things that I did, including to learn to fly a damn airplane. It's because I wanted to. Look, man, I wanted to. I said, Dale, I want to fly the damn thing. I want to know what it's like. I see them fly. They pass over here. My truck yard was by the airport. I said, I want to learn. And then I did. It's something that I didn't want to let go. And let me tell you one thing about letting things go. If you let them go too long, you'll never do them. You're not going to do it if you procrastinate too long. You won't do it. You won't do it. Something keep you from doing it. It's a high risk thing. The possibilities are pretty much the same both ways. I might and I might not make it. And I never thought about it. I said, the hell with it. I'm going to make it. You know, I'm going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way. It's the only way. Who in the hell? I don't hardly know. I'm not a good writer. I got no education in words and everything. Do you think I got any business trying to write a damn book? But I did. I'm going to do it. I'm going to write the damn thing. And I got it published with the words that I used. There's not no editor. No, the words I used, that's in every one of them in the book. So to sit down and say, well, I can't do that. Don't tell me, man. You don't know what you can do. You got to try. Look, I'm not anymore. I'm so damn old that it's pathetic. I can't do it no more. But if I could, yeah.
You might have another book in you.
Let me tell you something that I used to think, and almost happened. Well, I'm gonna tell you what kept me from doing it. Was I got married, and then it was out of the question. But if it would have gone 6 months more before that, I wouldn't have before I got married, there's a place I would have gone, and that's Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. And that's where I'd probably be today, in Africa. Because to me, that was a very interesting country. Very interesting country. And I still think it is. Yes, I would have liked that. I would have really liked that. Yeah. And I read about that mountain. It's big. It's big. It's a great big thing. I would have liked to go on there and live there. But that's another question. That not in this world. Not in this
Well,
world.
maybe your next book could be a fiction, and it could be about the little boy from Shreveport who made his way to Mount Kilimanjaro.
Well, yes, but I can't see it well as I used to, and I can't write as well as I can't write. I can't type. So I'm kind of now at a point where if I did it, it would take me 3 times longer.
Mm-hmm.
It would take me a long time. I think I could do it, but it's the you think you can do something, but that's a timeline, It takes time.
Sure.
And no, it's you know what I think sometimes? Now, I ain't got no damn business even saying this because you're all going to laugh. I think there's one other thing in life that I got to do. That's the reason why I'm still here. I don't know what it is. I think I'll find out one day. I think that's the reason why I'm still here. The good Lord said, I'm going to keep you down there, and your back can hurt, your legs can hurt. Everything about you is going to pieces. But I'm going to see to it that you're able to do it, and you got to do it.
I hope it wasn't this podcast.
Huh?
I hope it wasn't this podcast.
I didn't hear.
I said, I hope it wasn't this podcast. You better be as sparse tomorrow.
I like that.
Well, what the hell would happen if you went through life and you didn't think? Tell me.
It'd be easy.
Huh?
It'd be easier.
Huh?
It would be easier.
But you'd get nowhere, would you?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no.
I don't think you'd get very far.
No. The thinking is the only thing that you do. Oh, you got to think. You got to think. You cannot get anywhere without thinking. At least I couldn't. Even today, I got to think about my damn stick.
You cane?
Yeah.
Well, here's what I got from you. I got if there's something I think I want to do or there's something I want to try, then I need to just try it. I need to just do it and try it now.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yes.
I think everyone could hear that.
Yes, indeed, do it.
And benefit from hearing it as well.
You got to, if you want to do something and you got something in mind, it's something that
even if you got to break a few rules.
Break them.
100%.
Break them, yes, indeed. Break the damn rules and fight the people that'll come after you. And they will come after you. Because you can't live by damn rules that somebody else make. It's very hard. It's very hard to live. Well, to me it was. When I was young, I'm gone. Hey, hell with you. You do what you want, I'm gone. I'm just leaving. And I enjoyed it. Look, I was hungry many times. Many times. I was thirsty many times. And I didn't care. I did not care at all. I said, you know what I would say? I say, one day, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to be able to eat. I'm going to run into some food and water, and I'll eat and drink. Until then, I'll do what I got to do. And I can't blame anybody else for where I am or what or the life I'm going with. because I'm the one that picked it. I'm the one that decided to do this. Nobody else. So, I got no problem. If I was young, like about 12 or 13 years old, I'd get on a damn freight so fast you wouldn't believe it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I liked it. I really did like, I liked the continuous adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It was continuous. It never stopped. But now, at my age, no. I'd have trouble riding the passenger train now.
Nah, they're nicer than you think. They make some nice ones now. Well, all right, we're almost going on 4 hours here. I know you might not think much of this, but people are gonna like this, just like they like your book. You didn't think it was much or nothing, but people are gonna like to hear from you and hear about all these stories, and people are gonna pick up some life lessons along the way. And it's gonna touch a few people, and that's kind of what we set off to do, and we did it. I guarantee you, we did it. So I hope you like it once you get to listen to it. All the girls at Spars are gonna listen to it.
That's going to be on Facebook.
It'll be on our website, and then we're gonna
your website.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we share it to Facebook, and we know how to get it out to people.
Yeah.
And there's people that want to hear it.
Well,
You might not think that, but there's a lot of people that want to hear it.
I never did think that nothing I ever did would interest anybody else. I never did. That was never, I swear, that is never something I thought about. That's nothing I thought about. I thought about the negative side where people would say, well, I'm not surprised he did it because he's nuts, he's crazy. But, I heard a fellow on television say, not long ago, politics. He said, one of the reasons why we have so much trouble now in our politics is because we don't have any John Waynes left. We don't have none. Like I said a while ago about the West, 5 or 6 or 7% of the people tamed the West, and the others waited for the good times. That is going on today. That is happening right now. What I don't understand about the United States or the government is why do they let a handful of people do the things they do that accomplish nothing? It accomplished nothing. They call it demonstration. We're trying to let you know what we think. My thought is, you don't think at all. There's something wrong with you. You don't have no thoughts. And let me tell you something else. There is a right and there's a wrong, and I don't care who says so other than that, because there is a right and a wrong. These people are wrong. They are wrong. If you put a gauge on them, but look at what they do. Look at some of the things they say. Look, I believe that if you could take 10 or 15 people, stand them up on a corner and have them holler and cut up and burn the American flag and put graffiti on everything they see, would make a change, well, so be it. But they don't. Don't make no change. That is not going to change nothing. And in my lifetime, I never saw where it changed anything. It don't change nothing but show that you, my friend, are stupid. That's what you are. You ought to be doing something else. other than what you're doing. And I'm sure that you could do it because you sure not accomplishing nothing now except make people mad at you. A lot of people mad at you. So,
Beau's grandpa said last week, if you can't solve a problem, it's because you're too stupid. And it's just true. All right, Mr. Francis, we had fun doing this, and I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to get some feedback from the folks out in town.
Now, I know that I know the people that I know the people that sport are going to look at it. I know.
Oh yeah, we're gonna make sure of that.
Yeah, you believe you can believe that.
We're gonna make sure.
Now, Facebook. Is that a look? You know, I don't know anything about Facebook. I don't know anything about a cell phone. I don't know anything about this thing here. That thing right there scared the hell out of me.
But you know how to fly a plane.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. What's the big deal?
Oh yeah.
That's a lot harder than this stuff.
When I was 12 years old, let me tell you something. I think about this sometime. I think about it. I'm in a tugboat, and they work on the tugboat. You work shifts, 6-hour shifts. You work 6 hours, then you're off. 6 hours, then you're off. And then when you're off, you better get some sleep. You know, go to your bunk and sleep. You work 6 hours, then you're off. You work 6 hours, then you're off. I used to hang around the wheelhouse because about 2 o'clock in the morning, the skipper or the mate, depending on who's on watch, steering the boat, would get a little sleepy. And he said, "Look, everything is all right. Everything is okay. This is at night now. Take this damn wheel here, and all you got to do is stay between the bank. That's all you got to do." And just about the time he'd leave and go in his room, I'd look up ahead. There's a boat coming, man. Lights all over the place. Left green lights. Thank God. Dang, look at this. Now, I would meet that boat with the tow I had. I knew what to do. I'd get on my right. I'd go on my right as far as I could. And there's some lights in the Intercoastal Canal, for instance. You got piling with lights on it. And those lights are for tugboats at night. That's what they're for. That's to keep you off the sandbars
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, you know? So I look at those lights and I look at the tug coming. I said, there ain't much room between that light and that damn tug. I got to pass that. I'd pass 15 feet from that tug. And when the two boats got together, the tug going this way and I'm going this way, I mean, I'm meeting him. We blow the whistle, boop, boop. That means good morning or good evening or good night, hello, buddy, or something like that. Anything, it's a meeting. It's a hello, you know. I pass that and I boop, boop. And I start laughing. I say, I wonder what that guy would think if he knows a 12-year-old boy. I wonder what would go through his mind if he know they got a 12-year-old boy steering that damn boat.
I'm sure he remembers that.
I remember that. Sometime I remember that and I buzz out laughing. I think, I give him that hello signal. He ain't got no idea who it is.
You never know. All right, Mr. Francis. Appreciate you coming on.
All right.
Hell of a story. All right, that's it for this episode of the Miracles of Meat podcast. We ask that you share it with at least one person in your life that you think needs to hear it. You know, if you got a little something from it, you got some little goose pimples, or it just gave you some feel goods, you know, send it to someone else. Let them feel that too. And if you loved it, please leave us a 5-star review. That'll really help out. And if you only loved it like 4 stars worth, please do not leave a review. Same thing with the 1 through 3. Not interested in any of those, only 5 stars.
If you have any personal questions or comments about the episode, shoot them over to Bourgeois Meat Market on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll reach back out. And if you have any ideas for any cool future guests, please shoot those over too. We're always interested in hearing who else is out there and what kind of cool stories we might be able to bring into this place. See you next time. Thanks for listening.